week. Like, I don't know. I think my week would be weird if I didn't see you guys. It actually is kind of weird when I don't see you guys. Ah, well, welcome everyone. Welcome to another week of Blueprint for Peak Performance. Ask Me Anything. I'm Brandi Smith. I'm the founder of Perfect 10 Physical Therapy and Performance Training. And also Perfect 10 PT Academy, which is online courses for parents, coaches, and athletes. Super excited this week. It's a lot of fun. We are, for those of you who don't know me, I'm a former collegiate gymnast on two national championship teams there, became a physical therapist, and I work with as little as 3-month-old babies through our Born to Move preschool program that we've created, all the way up to Olympic level elite and collegiate athletes, and specializing in gymnasts, cheerleaders, dancers, and figure skating, parkour, people who do weird things with their body. I specialize in them, but I also see your regular sports as well. But I would say 98% of my clientele are those people who do weird things with their body. So, yeah, so in my journey as an athlete and as also a coach, because we all know many of us have gone through that journey where we were an athlete, and then as an athlete, we loved being in the gym so much, we started coaching. So I started coaching and helping when I was like 14, and by 16, I was running my own preschool classes. And by 18, I was director of the preschool program, my little gym in the middle of nowhere, Texas. And then I've helped other gyms also with their preschool programs as I traveled through college and my master's program. I didn't know that that was going to give back to me like it does now, but it was definitely one of my favorite parts as far as coaching, because I coached all the way up to level 10. Never had my own team. I was just one of those substitutes because I was always in college during the times that I was coaching. And then I got into the, quote unquote, real world, whatever, doing corporate physical therapy stuff. And God brought me right on back within a short 3 years of finishing PT school and having a job and being a director at a couple of, regular clinics, and then doing my fellowship. So I finished a 3-year residency and fellowship in orthopedic manual physical therapy, became board certified orthopedic specialist. And all of those things just kind of, what I didn't realize was training me to do what I do now. In that process, I gathered a lot of information about the mind, the body, the emotions, about healthcare, about development, neurodevelopment, and about teaching paradigms, like how do we best learn, what's the environment that we learn the best in, how do we structure learning so that children can learn really well, how can we help people's alarm systems to learn and to be productive in the gym and at school. So all of those things have led me to talk about what we're going to talk about today. So super excited. Today we are going to talk about a family-centered gym. And so before I pull up the presentation and we start talking, and I would like to promote this to be a really open conversation, because I want to talk about how we as a community, and when I say community, like the sport of gymnastics gyms in general, all across the country, dance studios across the country, how can we create a thriving environment? How can we create something that will nourish and grow not just that one child that's coming in for class, but their whole family attached to that child? Like, how can we really impact our communities? And so I have several online programs where I work with gyms at various levels. So like my Invincible Athlete program, I talk with them once a week, live. And then I have my Born to Move program. We run 6 live classes, and then we have a VIP membership that meets with me once a month. And these are actually topics we're covering in that, because they're really trying to figure that out. But amongst all of those, we've had multiple open conversations with gyms, gym owners, directors of gyms, and just everyone's trying to come to the table with like, what can we do to create a space in this chaotic, crazy world that we are in, that is promoting learning and growth as a person, like as an individual, as a family, as a community, like this impact that will ripple effect out. And what are the obstacles of creating that, right? Like, what are the problems we have in the world right now that are creating a sense of either urgency, scarcity, not enough, not worthy enough, there isn't enough, we don't have enough, um, a sense of fear, a sense of survival that's happening, and how can we and what else is going on in the world that we feel like are these obstacles we're having to overcome. Carla, I saw you unmuted, so I'm totally cool to stop talking. Come on in and tell me, what are some of these, obstacles that you're seeing in your gym amongst your families, etc.
I'll answer it, but he was standing on the keyboard.
I love that guy. Ah, but yeah, Carla, come on in. I know you have thoughts about this though. What are some of our struggles that we're having with the families and in your gym?
I think, well, with, I mean, I guess our program, in my town, it's kind of a, like children can only do one thing at a time. So, they kind of pick and choose, which, most recreational students only do once a week. So, they have plenty of time to do other things. So, it's trying to convince them that, gymnastics is the foundation of all athletics and all sports, um, mentally and physically.
Yeah. So it's this idea that we have, and that this speaks to something though, Carla. You brought up a really good point. I liked this, and I would love to hear Brianne, Latifa, Michelle, if you guys have some similar thoughts or struggles with this. But I see a couple of struggles behind that, right? So, like, I'm a parent, which I am. So I'm going to be my hypothetical Brandi, who is a parent of 11-year-old. And if I'm a parent and I'm saying once a week, like, I don't know if we can do once a week gymnastics, or we've already got basketball once a week on Thursdays, doing something else another day during the school week. It's just too much, right? And on the counter paradigm to that is your athletes that are coming 5 and 6 days a week training, long hours, right? So that parent who's saying, I really can only manage with my time, energy, money, stress levels. I'm able to comprehend how to get my child fed and to somewhere and then back home. I can only do it once a week. And so what that tells me is that parent is feeling overwhelmed of some sort. Somewhere their alarm system's elevated and they're not feeling safe or secure enough in their world to be able to add something. Have you guys ever been there where you're just like over the top, can't add another thing? But then when you're really stable and centered somewhere and life is flowing, you're like, dude, I'm doing 5 things. Whereas when I'm over the top about worrying about something or fear or emotions or, whatever the thing is that our alarm system's really elevated on, we don't have any bandwidth for adding anything. Carla or anybody else, Brianne, anyone, have y'all ever experienced that personally or with your parents where you're like, you can kind of see that their alarm system's elevated and they just don't have any bandwidth to like deal with like a fundraiser or anything at the gym. Like we're not adding another day. Go ahead, Brianne. And I'm going to get something while we're out. Brianne, then Carla.
Yeah, I've definitely had this myself. Like when it seems like everybody does all the things all at the same time. So it's like December and May. Like there's no way we can fit one more thing in this month. It's just not going to happen, right? Because everything's coming in that time. As far as our kids go around here, we actually have a problem with the kids being in so many different activities that they're like hit or miss for everything.
Ah, so they
Yep,
overcommit, and then they can't really be consistent anywhere.
right.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
I have that too.
Yeah, I'm sure you both have both sides of the coin, right? Right? That makes sense. So I want to share something. So I am part of what I do is therapeutic neuroscience education. And so I wanted to open this up and I'll pull up the presentation stuff we'll talk about, but this is all leading us in this direction I want to talk about. But like this is the way we look at our alarm system, the nervous system, and there's been a whole bunch of neuroscience on it. But if you guys look, sorry, the ring light is kind of on it. But whenever life is good and we're just flowing along and our alarm system feels safe, right? Like, what's the brain's number one job? I'm going to wait. Someone has it. Unmute. Number one job of the brain. If this, yeah, go ahead, Michelle.
Thinking, like problem solving.
Problem solving is one of the jobs. I would probably give it
Keep
number
us
three.
safe.
Go ahead, Carla.
Keep us safe.
Keep us safe. So the brain's really invested in this, because if the brain doesn't keep me safe, then it has no other job to problem solve, to think, to like anything, right? So the number one job, now, by the way, problem solving is definitely one of the functions of the brain. But the number one job, if this doesn't happen, then like the brain is highly invested in it, because you gotta think about it. If my number one job is to protect you, if you die, I don't have a job. Right? So if the brain perceives something as a threat, that could be, and the thing is, we have to also realize that social threats, emotional needs, mental needs are actual primal threats, because we actually all have epigenetics, which means genetics have been passed along lineages. And that caveman or woman, and those primitive, we used to be pack nomads, right? Because we'd have to travel, or we'd have a village, and one person in the village would be a hunter, and their job was to hunt and get food that way. Another person was to gather nuts and berries. Another person would be to fish. Another person was to deal with the crops. Another one would be like the fire maintenance person who made sure all the fire was happening. Other women and other elder women would be in charge of the children and their upbringing and making sure that all those things happened. Everyone had a role. And if I pissed off the community, I might not get fed because the guy who fishes doesn't like me. And so some of these social anxieties and some of the social village mentality stuff that we actually struggle with all as a human kind, actually have a very primal response to our alarm system. Because number one thing is safety and security. And when you look at the function, and I'm going to do it without a map or without a picture, but like number one function of the brain is safety and security, which happens in what's called the brain stem, which is the low brain. Some people call it the reptilian brain. Inside the reptilian brain is where our sense of safety, security, our sense of automatic responses like breathing, digestion, heart rate, all of those things happen in the low brain. Then you have the midbrain, which comes literally anatomically covers the brainstem, the low brain. The midbrain is where our emotional centers are, our emotional regulation, right? And then over that covers the human brain, the mammalian brain, the thinking brain, which is the problem solving, right? The ability to think, to make cognitive decisions, take in information, and make an educated decision based on that information. The thing is that no matter what, even anatomically, the driving brain will always be the reptilian brain. So the amount of sense of safety or security will determine all the other parts. It'll determine my emotional responses, my amount of reactiveness in the emotional world. It'll determine how I make decisions, what I base my decisions on. Do I base decision? I had a big decision to make recently, and it was a little scary. And I was like, okay, so I sat with it for like a while, day. And I was like, okay, am I going to make this decision out of fear, or I'm going to make this decision out of faith? And I was like, I've made fear decisions before and they usually don't turn out. So I'm like, I'm going to choose faith, right? And so I made this decision that was a hard decision, and there could be a right or wrong decision, right? And maybe there is no wrong decision in this sense, really. But it didn't matter that I still ended up with, like, I knew that the decision, right or wrong, was going to come with consequences both ways. And so that being said, when I made my decision, knowing I would come with some bills and some consequences for it, or responsibilities, another way to look at it, responsibilities, I felt good about it. And why did I feel good about the decision that came with some weight to my world? Well, because I made it out of a sense of faith and not a sense of fear, which was my low reptilian and midbrain were centered, if that makes sense. So I can make a hard decision that still comes with some weight and responsibility that maybe I didn't really desire to have. I didn't. But I can make that decision confidently and more regulated. if that makes sense. So what I'm going about all of this is that when life is good and everything is regulated and we're handling all those things, say, Brianne, when 5 people give you 5 different things or whatever in July, right? You have a lot of room for error, a lot of room to move, a lot of room to adapt, a lot of room to regulate your emotions around something that you don't like, a lot of room to process and make critical decisions. There's a lot of room here. But what we do know in the neuroscience is that when someone's alarm system, so our brain, our body, our alarm system, we have 400 nerves, more than 400 nerves. We have 400 individual nerves in our body, and we have 45 miles of nervous system that runs through our body. That's like a highway. It's interconnected. So if I move my head, the nerves in my fingers and my toes move. I move my toes and my fingers, the nerves around my head move. And so these nerves act as a highway for information, and they are like an alarm system, like in our house, right? And so if I stepped on a rusty nail, the alarm in my foot will go off. It'll send information up to my brain, up through the spinal cord to my brain. My brain will give me pain to grab my attention and get me to take care of the problem. Okay? Now, this could be a physical injury, like I stepped on a nail and I get pain. It could be a major decision or a concomitant of adding up of all of life's stresses and things that are happening all in the world, and a sense of lack of safety or fear, right? And what will happen is when I get stimulated by whatever the stimulus is, a test at school if I'm a kid, a mom with another bill, the idea of having to, after get home from this long day at work where everything's stressful, my job is always on the line and my bills are barely being paid, and I've got to go get in the car and drive my kid to gym, all of a sudden I can have a trigger, some people use, right? But a stimulus that turns on the alarm system. The alarm system in the brain will then trigger as a threat, and it'll give me fear, stress, anxiety, or even physical pain, stomach aches. I have had athletes come to me for stomach aches, and all we did was address their alarm system. They had been having stomach aches for a long period of time, and doctors were like, I don't know what's wrong with them, I don't know what's wrong. And sure enough, we worked on nothing but their alarm system and regulating, right, in various different ways. Some through breath, some through movement, some through mindset. It's a whole picture. But their stomach pain goes away. They don't have any stomach aches anymore. So we're all kind of living. So the thing that's really interesting is that they found that 1 in 4 people, when this alarm system gets triggered by a perceived threat, and I use the word perceived because everyone's alarm system is different. It comes with saved files from their past, from past experiences, from watching other people go through things. It's a complex system. And it's smart. It's the stealthiest system with the number one job being to protect you. So it's going to save all the information. Anything they saw someone else suffered, someone else had this problem, this bad thing happened. And we're wired to see the negative because that's protection, right? If I know what could happen or what's going to happen, I can protect myself. And so the brain will save all these files, right? And so when we hit a threshold where the alarm system triggers and gets on, 1 in 4 people. Now, these studies, there's more than one study, was done before COVID. And those who are in the neuroscience world believe that this number is higher now. And I have found in the world of gymnastics with people with personalities that are type A, that are really like perfectionists, etc., that this number is higher. It's more like 2.5 out of 4. So 50 to 60% of the athletes and coaches I work with, when their alarm system gets triggered, it'll stay extra sensitive. And so when it gets extra sensitive, there's less wiggle room, less room for handling life stresses, less room for movement and gymnastics and, making another decision or stressing and straining the finances. Like there's just no room because the alarm system is so elevated that it's in fear, right? And it uses fear, it uses stress to get your attention. And what people don't spend a lot of time doing is figuring out, what is the fear or the stress telling me? Is it telling me that I have poor boundaries and I'm saying yes to everything? Is it telling me that I've overextended myself financially or emotionally or mentally? Is it telling me I need to sleep more? Is it telling me that there's something going on in my alarm system that's not feeling safe? Be it a childhood trauma or, a self-judgment or a current experience that's happening. There could be all kinds of things underlying this. We do stories like the lion. Some of you guys have heard me talk about the lion before, the lion in the room and what's on your lion. We talk about yellow flags. What are the things that could be keeping my alarm system elevated, right? I'm going to bed late. I'm getting up early. I'm not getting any really good sleep. I've got lots of tests. My spouse lost their job. We added this bill. I feel that I have to be perfect as a parent in order to be okay. And if I'm not perfect, then I'm not okay. And perfect means that I do everything right, right? Like whatever it is, we all have these paradigms inside us. We all have these stories that have either been told to us or that we have created. And then this is a great question. Do you think poor nutrition plays a part in having an elevated nervous system? Let me ask you a question, Brianne. If you're not getting enough food, let's say you're not getting enough, or you're not getting enough vitamins or enough minerals or enough of any certain, like maybe it's not maybe it's not the quantity of calories, maybe it is quantity of calories, because we know that 90% of athletes have REDS, relative energy deficient in sport. So if I'm not getting enough calories because I have REDS, right, then you tell me, do you think my alarm system's going to be super chill and happy-go-lucky, or do you think it's going to be elevated and concerned? Like that's one of the basic needs. Food, Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Food, shelter, love. There's a couple other ones. Go ahead, Brianne. What do you think?
I wish my teenagers understood this.
Yeah. So the thing is that here's another factor. See, it's multifactorial. Hormones. Hormones are a change. So the brain, everybody think about it. Does the brain like change? Yes or no? You can drop it in the chat. Does the brain like change? Does anyone here like change? Yes or no? Just drop a Y or an N. I'm going to guess that all of you guys are going to say no. Because no one likes change. Yeah, thanks, Carla. Yeah, thanks, Romeo. Yeah, no one likes change. So the unknown, it can be a trigger. It can be a part of the trigger in the brain, right? So no one likes change. So if our hormones are changing, be it we're a teenager or we're premenopausal, right? Either one of those, if our hormones are swinging to one direction or the other, the alarm system's going to trigger on to pay attention more. Right? So now we have a hormonal surge happening on top of an athlete that's not eating, on top of an athlete who's probably in AP classes or advanced classes or trying to do more than one thing, etc. And at some point, their alarm system says no more. And, it shows out sometimes in their skills, comes out in fear, comes out in mental blocks, comes out in performance, right? Lack of performance, comes out in being scatterbrained, comes out in being disorganized, not getting their homework done, comes out in injuries because they're not sleeping and the alarm system's on, and the alarm system is not worried about healing an injury when it's on. It's only worried about fight or flight and protection and survival. It's not worried about sleep, right? And recovery. The alarm system's not worried about being nice. So if I'm in survival mode because my alarm system's elevated, I'm not worried about getting along with other parents in the gym. I'm not worried about being that parent that shows up to the booster club meetings. I'm not worried about being nice to my teammates. As a coach, I become short and irritable with people. Things that didn't bother me the day before now bother me, right? A great example is chewing. I used to use this. It's not happened in a long time, but like when my alarm system's elevated, I notice when my daughter smacks her food. And I'm like, oh my God, could you just stop smacking? Like that's what I'm thinking in my head a lot, right? But that is a trigger for me to go, whoa, I'm bothered by something that's been going on for how long? And why? Well, because my alarm system's elevated. So what's the alarm telling me? Well, it tells me I need to calm down. I need to get centered, right? So I say this because part of the reaction when people, and I use this with injury and with people getting back, right? But I want to use it in your example of the overcommitter, right? And of the undercommitter. So if I'm a parent And you guys just think about all the stresses parents have to go through, right? Number one, how many parents are actually near relatives that can help them? I haven't seen the stats lately, but they're low. Very few parents live near their parents, which means that they don't have grandma and grandpa helping. Very few parents have siblings or other family members, close family members that live nearby, so they're not helping. Back to that village mentality, there were people. They just passed around children. I gotta go do this thing. The other children were over here. Everybody was helping. The village, right? The village that used to exist. And so if I'm a parent, I have no village most of the time. And I'm trying to balance what now has become sort of 40-hour work weeks, but for many others, much more. And since COVID, a huge push on productivity and output-based jobs, which means that your job is always on the line. And every 3 to 6 months, we do layoffs to make sure that you understand that your job is always on the line, to keep you in fight or flight so that we can make you productive. So they think, right? But then they end up burning people out. And so then they also may be in a job in a field, if you're in the IT world or the engineering world, software, coding, etc., they keep you till you're in your late 20s, early 30s. And then when you start to get older, they realize that you're not going to give as much effort and you're going to start making choices around your family, and they let you go. So then you have to choose between being the parent that you internally want to be, sitting at the dining room table, versus being at the dining room table on your computer in a call. And that doesn't feel good because it's in an inner conflict. You have an inner conflict of what's going on and what your duty is and what your role is. You're feeling forced to do one role because you have to have money to survive and pay for food and shelter and do all the things that you feel are necessary for your child to thrive, which might be tutoring or sports or etc. So it's all tied together. Then you throw in the political world, then you throw in all of the volatileness happening in the economy, and then you throw in the rise in cost for everything all across the country, right? Tariffs and other decisions that are being made that are out of other people's control. So that's the other piece to this, is that there are a lot of changes in this world, which is why this has risen since COVID. There are changes in this world that are being made by others. And if you guys know anything and have come in here multiple times before, we know that as humans, we don't feel safe when we don't have autonomy. And so though we may be in what's called a democracy, we actually don't have a lot of autonomy. It's a false belief. There's a lot of loss of autonomy, and we are now left to manage and adapt to what's being trickled down the path. And this is not a political statement. This is just a truth of what's happening in the world so that we can understand who we're serving, which is parents and families. And so what you just described was a family who overcommits, right? I might be tied to being the best parent ever, and that must mean that I say yes to everything my kid does, because if they're here and they're there and I'm busy running them from here to here, I'm doing a good job. And maybe I've tied those ideas to it. Maybe it's conscious, maybe it's unconscious, right? But I've overcommitted, and we bulldoze through and we run Monday through Friday everywhere we go. And then we all crash and maybe have arguments at home on Saturday or Sunday, or maybe late at night when our homework hasn't been done. And then we go and we do it again the next week. And then we go and we do it again the next week. And neurochemically, we're just rushing and dumping. Rushing and dumping. And the rushing is this rush of neurochemicals rushing the body as we're running around doing 1,000 things. And then we're dumping because the brain and body are trying to recover. And this might look like someone, sometimes the dump will look like they get sick and they stay sick longer. It'll look like they shut down, they need to sleep longer, or it'll look like they are kind of walking through the motions. I'm sure you guys have had some athletes walk through the motions at gym. Then you have your parent who's like, once a week, that's it. One sport, once a week. And they have now undercommitted, right? And what they're trying to do is not feel the pain. They don't want to feel the fear. They don't want to feel the stress. They don't want to feel the suffering of running around and going to different places. So they undercommit so that they never have to feel anything. But the problem with this is that we never really grow. We just do a little bit and come back, and we do a little bit and we come back, and we never actually reach our potential because we're not trying to challenge ourselves, right? And part of the reason someone might do this, though, and part of the reason why someone might do this, they're both responses to an elevated alarm system and someone who's living over here. They just don't have enough bandwidth. And one person's reaction, and the way this looks in the gym, right, is that kid who just falls and they get back up and they go again. I gotta go again. Let me just go again. I can do another one. Let me have another one. I wanna do 5 more. Can I stay for another return? Right? They're the kid that just keeps going. They're the doer, the actions. They just keep going. They just keep pushing, right? And they don't know when to just take a moment and go, wait, you just fell? Could you just take a breath? Let's just step back a little bit. Let's do one progression, do a mental set, then we can go up, right? They're in a state of fight or flight, and they're doing, the action doer. The flip of that coin is what I call collapso-crushos, okay? But in the world of gymnastics, it doesn't make sense to you guys. In the physical therapy world, we understand what this means. But this is the person that collapses mentally, emotionally, physically. And they can do all 3 or they can just do one. But they shut down, right? This is the person who, when you're talking to them and they have failed at something or they tried something and they just collapse. You see their posture go in, you see them get behind the rest of the group, they go to the bathroom and they go to water, and the next thing you know, you're rotating to the other rotation and they never came back to the beam. So now it's time to go to bars, right? Or they get sick and they don't come to practice, they're hit or miss with practice. They're collapsing. Their nervous system, so each person, so I'll tell you right now, if you guys have not figured it out, I'm a doer. If I'm stressed and I'm over pushed, I'm just gonna do more, which is ridiculous, right? You should think about that. That's kind of ridiculous. But that is my nervous system's wiring, be it from early, be it from gymnastics, whatever it is. My nervous system doubles down and just stays in that system of high if it can, right? Now I have to be aware of it and then take a breath and stop back. But I have other athletes that when they get pushed to a limit, and parents, this is parents too, this is families. I want you to think about your whole families. They're family systems of this, where they get pushed to a limit and they just shut down. They stop coming, they stop showing up. They say, can we just like take a medical leave for like 3 weeks? And then I think we'll be back in the following week, right? Or they just don't volunteer for anything. They show up for the bare minimum. These are, what I call collapsing. They have a nervous system response of collapsing, right? And it is still in response to an elevated alarm system. So how in neuroscience have they found that we should deal with this, right? Well, they like to use this idea like, how would you eat an elephant? So we could say, how would you eat an elephant? Or we could say, how would you take on a big project? Someone unmute, what would you do? I'm going to ask you guys to start unmuting. What would you do if you had a big project to take on, Latifa?
First I always look at my schedule. I am the type of person, just because I do coach, I'm the one who creates the schedule for the different gyms, that I schedule out like almost 6 months in advance. Sometimes I pull out the whole entire year because I look at what's happening in the school system. I like to keep track of plays, just because every kid wants to be an actor lately. So plays take up almost a month. But I just take an overview of my schedule and see where I can place that time. And I start off with adding at least 2 hours. So if it's a new project, I'll schedule out maybe like a Monday or Wednesday while I just tackle that and I give that all of my attention. And I always start off with like 2 week goal, then I'll go into 1 month. And after that 1 month, and I feel like I'm secure and I'm confident and maybe like doing more, or maybe turning into it more into an action, then I start with that 3 month, 6 month.
Yeah. So you just described it. You do it one bite at a time, one step at a time, right? Because when you break up that big project amongst your year, looking at what your other, which is a great idea. You're looking at your other, where are all my energy, energy points going, right? Where is all my time, my energy, where is it going? And how much do I have left and where in the year, right? And so by doing that, what you're doing is you're setting it up one step at a time, little by little, you get it done. Well, so the same thing should happen with our alarm system, with taking on new things, with taking on new projects, with easing our way into things. So the way that we help the alarm system feel safe about making big decisions, right, is that we do it little by little. We go to a point of discomfort. So maybe it's a little uncomfortable to come to the gym twice a week. But if I go 3 times a week, I'm done. Like, it's like, that's too much, right? Like, as a parent, I just can't do it. Can't do 3 times a week. So then maybe we go to the point of discomfort where it's like, oh, I come in 2 times a week, right? And we do that for a while, right? Whatever that might look like. And then gradually, over time, and we have a rule of thumb when it comes to physical stuff or even tackling things mentally, but it's like we do something for at least 2 days in a row before we add something new or make it bigger. And some of that might be because physically we have to adapt our tissue to, say, exercise or something. But the other aspect to that is that my alarm system needs adaptation time too. My alarm system needs to feel safe at each level of whatever I'm doing before I can actually successfully move on, right? So if I do a little by little by little by little, right? And you even said it, Latifa, first I start with X amount of time, then I add a little more time, then I might work on it more frequently when I get to the point where I'm ready for action, right? So you're just doing little by little by little. So what does that look like with our families and in the gym? It's the same thing. We want to slowly, gradually ease them into doing more things at our gym, right? And what we know is that if you have a happy neurochemical dump from things like so oxytocin, serotonin, dopamine, if we can give happy neurochemical dumps while they're experiencing something new at our gym, we are more likely to get them to come back and do it again and again and again. And this goes for our families and it goes for our kids. So we need to think about it. When we go from a summer transition into school transition or school to summer, there's usually a 3, sometimes 6-week window where everything's mass chaos. Have y'all noticed that? Anyone? Like Brianne, have you noticed that like there's this window after school starting?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, Carla's like, yeah.
We all like I'm on it. I'm on that. And so like team wise, like the ones that come, you have to go with the flow.
Go with the flow. What would you say, Brianne? What about you? Have you noticed this as
Most
well?
definitely. Most definitely. In fact, I try to talk our owner into closing the first week of school every year. I'm like, just close. It's not worth it. I don't like banging my head against a wall. Just close.
It's not a bad idea. You know what you could do is a modified schedule. So look, this is school. This is school. This is why everybody goes crazy. Parents can't make doctor's appointments. Parents can't make decisions. They don't want to invest in anything for the first 4 weeks, sometimes 6. And if it's a family that's already up to the top with their alarm system, 8 weeks, sometimes 12, right? Where it's like, literally they went from a routine that was like, okay, we're happy. We finally figured out the routine finally for the summer. And now all of a sudden we have a bunch of unknowns. Everything changed. Back to the brain liking change. Does not like change, right? So now everything has changed and the kid is trying to figure out homework schedule and all the things. And now we have all this gymnastics happening. So it is actually not a bad idea neuroscience wise to have a modified gym schedule, where like maybe your team comes in, they do light workouts, they keep their body moving, they let off some stress. We're not super worried about like how many they hit. Like we don't care. We're just like, let's just move our body and have fun. And maybe your hour-long sessions for your kids turn into 30, 45-minute sessions. Maybe you have some open gyms that you don't normally have. Like instead of requiring they all come, just have an open gym, which is about movement. And maybe you spend some time doing breath work during that day. And maybe you spend a little time at the beginning of class saying, how was school? And not just like a random, like, we don't want question, like, we don't really want to hear the full statement. Like, what happened that was great? What happened that was like scary? What was unknown today? Was there something that you didn't expect today? And like just hearing them, because the brain just needs to be heard, right? And so this is what's happening to all your athletes. Can you guys see that, Brianne and Carla? Like, this is what happens when school happens. And so if we can find a way to make something more like this, right, that would be helpful for everyone, families and gyms, and just the well-being of everyone. So I want to lead into this idea that part of what brings the alarm system down is a sense of safety and security. And we also know, like, again, if we can help create those happy neurochemicals when they're having experiences at our gym, right? So I want to talk about this. We've been talking about it for a while with my groups, where we talk about a family-centered gym. So what is it like to grow your gym by growing families, right? And the secret to like lifelong clients, right? So part of this, we're going to talk about, you know, is there some missed opportunities happening at the gym? There's these windows of time, right, where most gyms are kind of silent, like 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., right? But we know that families still have life going on, right? Those parents still have children who are running around at home, and they don't have family members to help them. So where can we help that, right? And the other issue, or the other thought of this, is that because we are pack mentality humans, that is what we are wired for. We're wired for connection. And between devices and Amazon Prime and the way the world has run, right, we have gotten to where we have less and less connections. Like, there were some benefits to COVID, et cetera, but at the same time, a lot of people don't do grocery shopping anymore. They just get it curbside delivered, or they get it DoorDash to them. They don't even go into restaurants a lot of times now. The checkout stand, I used to know a lot of people who work checkout, and I remember some of the high schoolers that used to work it. They would be like, I feel like I'm sometimes a counselor. Like, people, this one guy, he just comes, and he comes in every Friday, and he buys blah, blah, blah. And he talks to me for like 5-10 minutes, and I'm like, gotta get my line going. He'll still be over there talking to me while I'm bagging his things, and I'm doing the other people, and he's still talking. And it's like, yeah, because this poor guy is retired, and he's used to like going into the office and talking to people. And so he goes to the grocery store and talks to the clerk. Now we have self-checkout everywhere, right? So if you think about it, how many places since COVID have we lost community connection? We've lost it in so many places. And so on top of that, they need to move, and we're losing movement. As a general population, unless you, even people who used to be athletes, they've lost movement, right? But like, between the needs of people's jobs, the needs of school, and all these devices and other things have been happening culturally, we're losing movement. As a community, as a family, like, people aren't moving. And because there's no family around, the village doesn't exist, people and family are losing support, right? Here's the thing, and this is part of what I think that we can make a huge impact in this world, is that families are searching for a place to belong. They're searching for that village. And I feel like gymnastics gyms, dance studios, I feel like we can do a better job. I feel like we can be that place. We can create a village. I just did a session for some kids and parents. It's a new gym, and they've been waiting because of the floods here in Texas. It's taken longer to get their gym going. And so they've been training displaced. They've been training kind of out of another gym a little bit a week. They've been doing lots of ballet at a dance studio, and they've been doing like weights out of one of the girls', garages. And these parents have been driving a lot of places that they didn't anticipate to be driving. And one of the conversations I had with the parents was, I said to them, I'm going to stop screen share for a second. I said to them, you guys have an amazing opportunity. It's like, there's about 20 kids that are the founding kids for this gym. and they're the team, and then they're going to build out everything below, and they've got a bunch of things that have been going on. It's about to open. And I said to these parents, I said, you guys are actually the founding parents of this group, of this team, of this gym. And the coaches and I had already talked, so I had a very similar conversation with the coaches. And I said, you guys are a place where you get to choose right now. You get to choose what kind of village do you want to create? Do you want one that's open and authentic and honest? Do you want one that's accepting of people? How are we going to treat each other? And a lot of this is like non-verbal communication as well as verbal. And how are we going to create these connections? And one of the dads was in there, and he said, and we were talking about hormones and the alarm system and teenage girls. And he's like, I have 4. And the wife's sitting next to him, you only have 3. And he goes, you're in menopause. You're in premenopause. And I go, he does have 4, like their hormones are everywhere. Because what do I do? He's like, I don't know how to help these alarm systems. And the first thing I said to him was, number 1 is, what if you created a dad group where you guys actually met, not like some kind of have to be a club and you have to be accepted, etc. But like where y'all just had a natural occurrence where y'all met and had coffee or did something fun together or whatever, and got to all commiserate as the dads of tweens and teens and premenopausal wives, and got to be healthy about it. Like, what are some things that are working, and how can I blow off some steam and create support? So one of the things that keeps our alarm system elevated is thinking that we're alone. So creating a village where we all have open communication is really important, because that already, when you know that you're not the only one, it lowers the alarm system. One of the questions, so Michelle wrote in, easy to build community with team. Could you provide examples on how to do this with rec? Yeah, so this is the part I want to talk about, though, is that it actually is the community of the gym, right? It's this idea of how can we create spaces and events in our gym where we create community. So an example being is that open gym that's a free-for-all is not a lot of communication, right? Parents drop off their kids, and I'm not saying don't have the Friday night, parent night and kids night, etc., right? Like however you want to frame them. They're framed different ways across the country. Those things are great. But my question, though, is when the parent by far should have this, it will help parent sanity to have their own individual time. By saying, hey, it's kids night out, it's like, hey, parents, we're supporting you. We know you do a lot. And maybe we should use those words. Like, be real. Like, we know you do so much for your kids. Like, we're offering a safe, free place to be educationally good, good. We're going to do some education stuff. We're going to do movement stuff. We're going to do, and create a curriculum around it instead of just free for all. And then occasionally have a free for all, right? Like autonomy is good, right? But there can be autonomy with guidance, right? Where we have like a theme of something and they make choices and they all do the thing. There's a lot of different ways it might look, right? I'm not saying that it has to be totally structured. I think having open gym is important too, because it's important to offer a space for autonomy, right? But put it as it is. Open gym, we're offering your child autonomy, a place where they can work on what they want to work on safely. But it needs to be more than just one coach watching a bunch of kids try not to kill each other. Like, that's not a community. That's not a village, right? It might look like also though, so again, we're supporting the parents, but let's be real. We're supporting you because we know you need spouse time. Go do that. Or you need to go to the spa, or you need some, and promote them to do self-care and regulate their own alarm systems, right? Like, how can we, yeah, she said, OMG, Michelle says, love it, OMG. Exactly. Yeah, I think that we need to change some of our wording about things we already do. Point to them and tell them, we're hoping that you go and care for yourself. Like, we're hoping that you can get your alarm system calmed down. We want to be that support for you. But the other thing is, like, how can we create spaces in our gym? So I'm going to go along a little bit more down our topic here. But, can we be more than just a place to work out? Can we be a second home? Can we create a space where they feel able to be open and honest and talk? Can we have a front office person that's trained to talk to them and listen and remember that parent is having trouble with this thing this last week? Ask them next time they come in, hey, how did the renovations go at the house? Oh, is she sleeping through the night? Like when we have babies, like when you have people who are 17 and 16 working the front desk, teach them that moms need to feel heard and that it's really a couple of good questions. Did the baby sleep through the night? How's she eating? Has she been fussy? Like, how's it going with the potty training? Like at this age, how's it? And like, just have them, give them some stock questions that we know every mom will have an answer for. And then tell them to listen. Teach them to listen to the answers. And then when they come back with the answers, make note. Teach them how to remember, right? Make note. And even if they have to at first, have a little pad that says, Sally, potty training, not going well. And next week when Sally comes in, so did it go better this week? What's working? One day I'm going to have kids. Like they can play it off of their own stuff, right? So if we can do this, we can change lives and we can grow our business at the same time, right? And so one is creating a safe and welcoming space for the families, right? So we want to design a warm and supportive environment where parents feel seen, heard, and connected, right? A lot of gyms in their waiting area, and I know sometimes we're limited on space for waiting areas, right? And I know that we're not necessarily promoting that parent that's there for 4 hours, sit there for all 4 hours. Like that's not necessarily needed to be a family-centered place, but what are the things we can do in our waiting area, be it seating selection, or maybe you just have the fold-out chairs. How can we create, and there's a lot of information on this in the world of design, but like how can we create a space that's open and friendly and conducive to communication? So the old school way of lining all this this is just an example, the old school way of lining all the chairs 3 and 4 in a row facing the gym, that's not very conducive to a conversation from person to person. That's just conducive to sitting and staring into the gym or looking down at my cell phone. How many cell phones, or how many parents are on cell phones in the waiting room the whole time? And now they've lost an opportunity to connect to another parent who could be part of their village if they just got to know them, right? And so how can we create some spaces? I'm not saying take away all those chairs, but how can we create some spaces where things are art? Where things are in a circle, right? These families are really seeking more than fitness. They're seeking a community. One of my favorite things to talk about is coffee, because one of my friends, he owns a coffee company, and he did this interview on me for his blog, and it was about coffee and my experience with coffee. And I'm not saying you have to have coffee. It could be coffee, tea, hot chocolate, like you want to create kind of a space. But a Keurig is not expensive. And maintaining like a Keurig, whatever, little cups is, again, not expensive. And you can even promote that they be environmentally friendly and bring their own coffee things. And you have a few coffee mugs there that you will wash. Or you can invest in the little cups or whatever. It depends on what your investment is. But what if you had a little space where they can make their own coffee and tea or hot chocolate, and that space is just this little, you don't even take up that much space. It's like this much space, set it there, right? But then what if somewhere in the lobby space, there's 4 or 5 chairs sitting in a circle next to the coffee maker with maybe a little place for them to set their things or hooks somewhere. So it's clear that those hooks are there to hold their purse, right? And maybe there's a stand. Our coffee house does this. I love it. It's a little stand that's on the wall, and it's meant for cell phones. You can see it. It's clearly meant for cell phones. You can even put a sign there that says cell phone here, talk there. And you could and then you could have a little subliminal sign that says community is gathered here. We gather together. Like whatever you want to put in your space, subliminally, you're telling them, sit down, put your phone down, have some coffee. And while you're paused and drinking coffee because it's hot, take some time to drink it. There's hopefully someone else sitting across from you. And if these people are so awkward because they're so not used to communicating, maybe we should have some icebreaker conversation starters. Yeah, I love it. And the coffee house also has this little box with the conversation starters. There's a bazillion different ways to do it, questions to ask. But you can even have a little questions on the wall that's like, how was, you could think of some deep questions. I didn't think about this through, but there's some deep questions you can ask that are open-ended. And it just promotes the person next to you to ask a question and like find out something about you, right? Because not everyone's good at icebreakers. And if they have been, in solitude as they have been, or their alarm system has been elevated, speaking to someone new may be challenging, right? So give them some help speaking to it. I love this idea. Several of my gyms have taken this idea on and they really, really love it. There's some other things we've talked about in some of the other ones. Another thing is launch a baby program or launch a waddler program, right? So we have 2 programs that we've been talking about, the Born to Move program. We have our baby program, 3 months to 12 months or 14 months walking, right? That program will run again. We only run these programs once a year. That program will run again in June. Right now we're launching our waddler program, which is walking 12 to 14 months to 2 years, right? This divides out from the toddlers because they have a developmentally different need, right? You can start these programs, right? Offer first of its kind and nurture your families, nurture their sensory and their motor skills right from the very beginning, nurture those nervous systems young. And in our programs, we teach you how to teach the parents to nurture them. What's happening though, as I'm talking to the parent about the child's nervous system and about how we're regulating it and how we're creating these connections, guess what the parent's unconscious mind is also doing? Figuring out how regulated or not regulated and and learning some tools themselves. And by being in the class and doing some of the activities with the baby or the waddler, they're actually releasing the happy neurochemicals because we put specific activities together so that they are touching, because touch is one of our ways we release neurochemicals that make us feel safe. So we're creating in the program itself innately a sense of security and safety in our gym. Now, if I go deeper into Pavlov's law, which those of you who don't know who Pavlov is, he was a very famous psychologist in the early 1900s. Dolphin training, clicker training, all these things have come from it. But what he did is he took a dog, he had food, and he had a bell, and he saw that the food, and then the dog would salivate, and he would ring a bell. Dog, food, salivate, bell. Dog, food, salivate, bell. Dog, food, salivate, bell. Eventually, he took away the food, and he rang the bell, and the dog salivated. What this told us is that we can train our alarm system, our brain and our nervous system, to release the neurochemicals we need to create automatic responses. Now, all of us already have examples of this in our life. So think of like that one person that just drains you, that you literally will do all things to avoid, right? Or think of that one space or place that's your happy place, where as soon as you go there, you feel more relaxed, you feel centered. Those are just bells in our life. We can intentionally in the gym by painting, like even there's a lot of research on what colors we choose, right? Also research on fluffy things versus hard things. So like chair covers, painting, the layout of being straight in line versus art, everything being rectangular. There's a bunch of marketing research on rectangular versus like these numbers. This is a calmer number. It's rounded. You guys, it's more pleasant to the alarm system than something that's sharp, right? There is all kinds of different subliminal things that if you intentionally put them in your gym, and then through programs like we have, the Born to Move program, we're intentionally creating bells every class to intentionally have that child have a successful, beautiful experience where they feel loved and supported and connected, and they feel connected to their caregiver. And the caregiver will then ensue as well, feel connected to their child, release the happy neurochemicals, and want to come back next week. And the following week, and the following week, and when they have their next baby, they want to come back. So the goal is to intentionally use neuroscience to help us help them have a safe place to be. We want to foster these genuine relationships that last. So learn how to create these environments where friendships are made, families bond, and your gym becomes that trusted pillar in the community. We want to build loyalty through their heart, not just through, oh, we're a place to be there for a long time. We want to build loyalty. If you think about it, there's some schools, colleges here in Texas, I'm sure you guys have them in your own states, that just have heart. There are colleges that have, and when you look deeper at them, they have rituals, they have traditions. Texas A&M is one of them. If you go anywhere, right, and then in California, Stanford, they have their own traditions and their own meaning behind things. Texas Women's University, for me, will always have a place in my heart. They were there for me through 4 years that were so challenging. But the actual school, my coaches, the kinesiology department, the health, the literally the president, the like head chair of the whole health department, like she helped me. Like they created an environment on campus. There was lots of nature. There was lots of community things, even though I couldn't go to all of them because I was an athlete. But I had a lot of happy neurochemical dumps that created a sense of safety around Texas Women's University. So I go home when I go there. I enjoy it. I haven't been there in a while, but I still, I'll support them. Whenever I can, I support them because I come from a place of heart. Texas A&M has tons of traditions. Traditions around their rings, traditions around football games, traditions around yell practice, something called mustard, where they actually give honor and memory to all those in the military. And then they also have all these things for like, as you grow up as an Aggie, first year, second year, third year, fourth year, fifth year seniors, they have different events throughout the year where you're celebrated. The whole college comes together, right? That togetherness, and if you guys take it, some of those ideas are things to be had at your gym. How do we celebrate our rec kids? And is it just a 1 a year thing? Because that's not enough. The neurochemical hips have to be more often. And it's not just about a showcase, because then we're celebrating output. And as we just talked about, output has become a stressful thing in this environment. How can we celebrate the journey? How can we celebrate them as a human? How can we celebrate the families? Can we have a family barbecue? I'm in Texas. Could we have a Saturday barbecue where we offer free food to all of our community families? And we say, come. And then can we have cornhole and beanbag toss and this and that? Can we have a moment where we all come together and do some kind of group activity together? I just went to a gym and it was so awesome. It was in August. It was early August. And this gym owner required that all of her team parents on all planes, boys, girls, trampoline, artistic, excel, all of them came in for a parent workshop or camp. It's parent camp, but she called it a workshop. And the parents rotated every 45 minutes. And the kids came in so the parents came in Friday night. Parents and kids came in Saturday. And then it was just, then I did stuff on Sunday individually. But yeah, so Saturday was both. But then by the afternoon, it was just kids Saturday. So parents went through, I believe it was 6 or 7 rotations. And they went to nutrition. They went to me twice. One of them we talked about why gymnastics and why are we really doing this. And we really were talking and we went around the room. All of this stuff was community-based. Talk. And they loved it. It was so great. And another one, we talked about the mental and physical injuries in gymnastics and how to support our athletes. And what does that look like? What can we say? All these things. But then they went to a parent bonding session. And one of the other sessions they went to was what's the history of this gym. And the gym owner's daughter told the story of the struggle of getting this gym going and the mission of this gym. And the mission of the gym is not to just do gymnastics. The mission of gym is to build amazing humans and to spread God's love through sport. That's specifically their mission at their gym. And but she went through the struggles, and the owner couldn't tell the story because she would cry too much, so the daughter did. And I tell you, the first group I had did not go to the parent bonding session. I was the rotation right after parent bonding, and that session after all those parents came in, it was like before they were scattered throughout the room. After the parent bonding session, they were all sitting at these close tables. I had to hush them down 3 times before I could get them to be quiet for me to start my talk. Like, I was so impressed. And I said to them, how many of you guys did not want to be here? I go, come on, raise your hand. We know it's all of you. And it was like almost all of them who bravely raised their hand. And I said, and how many of you guys have actually secretly enjoyed this a little bit? And how many of you guys have learned something you didn't expect to learn? And almost all of them raised their hand. Of course, there's 1 or 2 in their room that are still puffing and puffing. But the rest of them, I was like, wow. And then I said, what's really amazing for you guys is that you are being an amazing parent right now. And don't worry, it's not going to get missed. Your athlete sees that you're here, and you being here is more important than any money you throw, any leotard you get, any grips you buy, or any physical therapy you take them to. You being here to support them, your energy and presence is more important. And so what was super cool is that they were like, there was a lot of aha moments. And I had several later who were just like, this was great. Like, I can't believe this. So where can we offer things that sometimes families don't even know they need? And so next year, she's going to trickle it down to some of the other kids into the rec program. And, you know, these are things we could do for our preschool parents. Why not? Let's do a parenting workshop. I went to a parenting workshop when my kid was in preschool. Because why? They don't come with manuals. Like, do we have a love and logic group, or do we have a positive parenting group? Is there a parenting developmental teacher that can help us learn about, you know, parenting a tween? Like, could the gym be a place where we support them through parenting? Because it's harder than sport. Hands down, have competed and trained up to 36 hours a week, competed under thousands of people in front of me, and the hardest thing I've ever done in my entire life is parent. Why? It's all unknown. I don't have a village. My mother passed very early when my daughter was young, and she lived far away when she was here. My father lived far away. I don't have a village. I'm a single mom at this point. I have been for a long time. So it's like, I don't know what I'm doing. Can I admit that? So how can I get help? Parenting class, you know, education, seeing parents that I see that their kids are turning out really well. They seem pretty regulated. The parent seems to be pretty chill or regulated, not chill in a bad way, but like, you know, regulated. I'm like, what are you doing? I want to know about that. Oh, I tried this thing and I learned this thing from my counselor or from this whatever. Tell me more. Can we sit down and have coffee in the lobby and talk about how it's working? How's 6th grade? Gosh, you should just have a 6th grade workshop. Like if you have enough kids there, right? Like, but in the first parent workshop. I'm a first parent with a baby. Come, let's have a meet and greet with all the moms. And while they're in the meet and greet, let's offer some value. What to expect the first year of life. Topic. Have an expert in your community come talk on it. Use our Born to Move program. We have portal videos that are all recorded on what to expect the first year of life. Have the same thing for the 2nd year and for the 3rd and the 4th and 5th. So it's like, use your resources. How can we support these guys and create heart? Notice that the theme of everything I stated was heart. So we want to really connect with their heart. And then we talked about this already. Because I love the lobby idea, but like, can we create a lobby where life happens, where people don't want to leave? Right? Where it's closing time and we're kicking them out the door. We're so glad you were here, but we've got to close the doors. It's time, right? Instead of everyone running out the door or the parents staying in their car, texting their kid, waiting for them to come out. Instead of coaches running out the back door, which I think is happening less, right? Part of that's educating coaches, how to communicate, how to talk. These people are human too. They want the same thing you want for their kid. Right? Let's open the conversations, create a community. So part of what we do is we have all of this through Born to Move. I do want to show you guys this. We do have a free family-centered guide. So if you click this QR code off the screen, it'll take you to our free family-centered guide and a way to help create more family-centered mindset and attitude around your gym. You do not have to redo your whole thing, right? We already have these spaces. just think about what you have today and how can I lay it out to create more communication, more space. Through my the Born to Move program, my VIPs like 2 months ago, one of the gyms, and I am going to go ahead and bring this up here. One of the things that, oh, here, I'll drop it in the thing. I'm realizing that I should have put this in there. This is to everybody. So this is our Born to Move Waddlers program, and it's a done for you curriculum. And it offers all of these things. You know, we cover the 6 sensory motor building blocks. We give all the lessons plans for you. It includes the props and equipment bundle. We have live online trainings and also pre-recorded modules. The live trainings will start in October for this program. I only run this program once a year. I can't do all these lives this often, so I do each program once a year. We offer you the franchise rights, which means that you can train your staff over and over. It means that you can use our logo and you can use our marketing material and the information we give you verbatim. That's in the contract for you. Has to be verbatim though. You can't be changing stuff. We want to make sure the neuroscience stays. We want to make sure neural development is respected and moves on. Thanks, Michelle, for joining. It was so nice to meet you. Check out our Waddlers program. See if it's something that's good for your gym. We would love to have you. Gym owners are loving it. It's built specifically for gyms and parents. This is for children 12 to 24 months. And it's important because we're trying to make an impact where it matters, helping children thrive and strengthen our communities around them. And so we have this really cool, I'm just going to show you guys this cool video.
Did you know the most critical window for your baby's development starts as early as 3 months? And yet, most programs wait until 18 months or later to begin. That's a missed opportunity. We're proud to offer Born to Move, a research-based, professionally led program designed to support your child from tummy time to toddlerhood. Because movement isn't just play. It's how your baby learns to process the world, how they build the brain-body connection that underlies everything. Sensory integration, emotional regulation, motor coordination, confidence, language, reading, and writing. And yes, even school readiness. Through 6 foundational sensory motor building blocks, this program lays the groundwork for better learners, children who are more regulated, more resilient, and ready to thrive. Our instructors are professionally trained and licensed in the Born to Move curriculum, ensuring your child is supported every step and crawl of the way. This is more than a class, it's a foundation for life. Visit our gym, join the movement. Build the foundation for a lifetime of learning, growing, and thriving. Move to learn, play to grow. Born to Move is now enrolling.
So we do marketing material very similar to this, promotion video, all kinds of stuff for you as part of the program. You get a basic marketing kit, you get 6 social media posts, you get a trifold flyer and some single page flyers, and you also get a promotion video as well, very similar to the one we just showed. And you get to add and customize all that stuff with your own gym's logos. So you get also a certification for all of your staff that take the program. And right now we only have I think it's 2 spots left actually on the first 10. So we have just a couple spots left. If you guys want to get it, it is 50% off. I dropped the link in the chat for everyone. Feel free to click the link and you can join now. We have, like I said, 2 spots left. I don't know how much longer they're going to last. And then we are going on the 23rd to close out the first 10 spots, and it'll open for regular sale at that point. So you guys can join in early. And we've got lots of gyms who are like, this is the best thing I've ever had, and that all of their staff should go through it. It sets us apart with parents because we are knowledgeable and proactive in their child's success. She said 100% worth the investment, this at the Rock. And then Sue said to completely transform the way she approaches teaching and thinking about the age children that can start her program, as well as the developmental side of each age. She's been working looking for something like Born to Move forever, she says, forever. And as a preschool gymnastics director, Olivia is a lifelong learner, and she loves collecting different training programs to further her education and staff. She and her staff are loving Born to Move. It's exactly what they were looking for, and she was super happy with the program. Colleen at Alpha has said that she's seen an participation steadily rise, even during times typically considered off-peak, and it's allowed Alpha Gymnastics to maximize their facility utilization and foster a vibrant community. So she's been happy about how the Born to Move program has helped her with the community aspect and help remain the forefront of their youth fitness education. So join today. We'd love to have you. The link is in the profile. Yeah, feel free. We would love to have all of you guys join. Also, you can go to this QR code that's here on the screen and you can join. Again, we have like 2 spots left for the 50% off. And then on the 23rd, well, as soon as those 2 spots are gone, 50% off is gone. But if, if it takes longer, the 23rd is when it goes back to regular price for the opening to the public. So we would love to have all of you guys join. You can click the QR code on the screen. And next week, thank you guys so much for joining. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I would like to kind of check in. Carla, Latifa, did you guys get some ideas of ways you might want to implement or, how do I say, change or modify some things in your gym that might help create a little bit more of a community space? Do either of you guys have something that came to mind as we were talking through this? I would love for you to share, because I think that everyone is trying to figure out how to do it. Yeah, Latifa, come on in.
No, not necessarily, but I do feel like that it helps confirm that I'm going in the right direction. Luckily for me, for one of my gyms that I work for, it's in a rec center, so I have access to some of the other programs. And I was flipping through an old catalog for maybe like 2009, and they had a flip and dip. And just based on the name, loved it. So I decided, you know what, I think I want to bring it back. Let's just do it a little bit differently. Because our aquatics program wasn't sure if they wanted to do a lesson. It was very overwhelming for their staff. So I decided to um, do walking to 5, but split the kids in half with coaches, and they would do a gymnastics 45-minute class. They would get access to one of our classrooms so they can mingle, talk. I will have crafts in there. They'll able to eat lunch, and then after that, they would have access to the pool as long as they wanted to. Because I make it a habit of stopping by all of our classes at least once throughout the session, say hello. And my number one feedback was from my toddler parents that they were pregnant during COVID, and there's no and they're out of state. Well, they moved from
Out of
somewhere
state.
else, and they don't know how to connect.
Yeah.
What does that look like for them? And I was like, I don't know, because if you come in on a open gym or a playtime and there's not a lot of people, because maybe they have 5-year-olds and you have a 2 and 3, or you're trying to find spaces for that age group. And I was like, okay, I hear you. And I've been trying to figure out what that looks like for them. So I just asked to just create more spaces. I also have a Learn and Move series that I'm going to add later because we canceled out our Head Start program. And I come from a very extensive Head Start background. My family are directors, and I love what they stood for, whether you needed those services or not. So just more, we're adding in a parenting class afterwards, same thing, so they can have snack, childcare service, and once again, access to the pool. Because I noticed with parents with 2-year-olds, once you're out of the house, you're out of the house. You don't want to pack them back up. And so if you can at least get 2 to 3 activities in, or maybe 2, then it makes it worth your time, and it's a lot less stressful. So it's just nice to have this conversation to say, okay, so yeah, I am on the right path. I am, recognizing what I need to. Yes.
What you're recognizing too, we talk about this in our Wadler program. I just talked about this with the parents in the Wadler class, actually, that I'm leading. We had this conversation. I said, you guys realize that this is the hardest, most hands-on phase between the ages of, so when they first start walking to 3, it is the most hands-on parenting phase because they're everywhere. and they're constant balls of energy because they've just started walking. So when they just start walking, they hit this new ecstasy and like high in their brain because they're now accessing their human mammalian brain, their thinking brain, their human brain, the cortex, right? And with that becomes like almost this feeling of euphoria. So that's why little, 2 to 3 year olds, they're just like always running around and they have so much energy because it's new and it's fresh and they have these new neural connections being made in their cortex. And it's exhausting for parents because they want to be in and everything and into everything and moving fast, but they don't have the coordination or the connection. So like we do a lot of hand over hand stuff where the parents have to help the child because between that age, it's not until 24 to 28 months that their nervous system gets myelinated. So we have like these little coats that grow over the nerves, and those coats make our nervous system faster. So processing speeds increase, right? And so at this age, they've developed this new neural connections that are in this cortex that's really fast and fast compared to the lower brain, right? So, and it's creating this sense of euphoria because they're accessing new neurochemicals and they're very happy and excited, but their ability to process what's happening is slower. And so they need a lot of attention one-on-one with the parent. And so what I told to the parents, I said, the positive thing is that this is very hard, but it will end because at 24, 28 months, they'll start and you'll have new challenges, but it won't be quite, because you just noticed it. You said it exactly. Between 2 and 3 years old, if they have finally got out of the house, they want to stay out for a little while. And this is why though, because it is challenging. And once they kind of get the kids in action, the nervous system is getting the input at once when they're moving and doing stuff. And with that input becomes, how do I say this, more regulated because it's what's necessary. The brain is craving the movement and the sensory stimulus because it needs the movement and the stimulus to myelinate the nerves. So it's a natural craving. Does that make sense, Latifa?
Yes, it does.
Yeah. So it's super cool, but that's exactly why. So it's like explaining to the parents, also letting them know it's helpful because it helps them kind of go, oh, okay, this is normal. This is a season of busyness because of these things. But also as a gym owner and as a director, knowing that when you create community events, I love these events you're creating. It's great. Flip and dip. I love it. I love this this learning parent workshop that you're doing that's going to create, you're going to have crafts. I also love that you're going to have that space. Just creating one space. So if you're doing something in the gym, you're doing something in the pool, creating that one space where they can go to the in-between where there's community. Food, drinks, places to sit, communication, right? Try not to have loud music in that space. Right? Like have soft music, that's fine. But like try not to have loud music because then people won't talk because they don't want to talk over the music or it's like hard to talk. So creating, kind of thinking about these little pieces of how can we promote more communication. I love to pose questions in groups, right? And like getting people to raise their hand and be like, does everybody experience this? And you ask a question that that age group, they experience it. And you look around and you go, oh, y'all are all in good company because everyone here didn't sleep last night. Everyone's had a moment where they're upset that they skipped the nap and you were in the middle of trying to do the laundry or whatever project you needed to do for your work. Creating commonalities and finding common ground for people. And sometimes it does take a lead to do that because of COVID. Because you have these families that have moved in late. Like I've discovered, like we moved, our families that are our closest friends, my daughter, they were the ones before she was in school. We entered kindergarten and finished kindergarten in COVID. All of first grade was in COVID. And what I've discovered, even with the events I try to go to the elementary school, which I went to all of them, right? I found that there was really not great ways to connect with these parents. And the parents who were connecting knew each other pre-elementary school. And now we're in junior high and I'm like, how do we connect to these parents? Because I need to know this parent a little bit so that I know where my daughter's going and what's happening, right? So it's like finding creative ways. And I find that if you can have conversation starters that's maybe led by someone and find common ground, right? Being able to find common ground, usually around the season of life they're in, is a great place to start conversations with people. just so they can kind of get to know each other. And then as a director, or for me, when I find out that like one parent is in, in this town and the other parent's also in that town, like, oh, did you know, have you met so-and-so? You guys live in the same town and y'all have the same age kids. I thought of you guys. And now you kind of put them into a space where they can maybe talk, and then they can decide to change numbers or whatever they're going to do. But you kind of have to create these spaces over and over, because I found that like if you just do one a year, it's just awkward. Like there's not a community being built. It's just a one a year thing we come to. So it's a way of creating spaces. And I don't think it's any one event or any one thing. I think it's just thinking about these as you're doing your programming and your planning. And even when you have showcases, how can we have a side place where people talk and they're not just looking at the showcase? How can we keep them there or get them there early without everybody just coming, watching their kid and leaving? Like, how can we create some of these spaces? I love these ideas. Latifa, thank you so much for sharing. Hopefully it spawns some ideas for Carla and some of the others who are listening. I appreciate you guys so much for coming. Next week, we're going to start the 6 sensory motor building blocks, which I think you guys are going to love. We'll be breaking it into 2 sessions. So we'll cover the first 3 next week and then the following 3 the following week, and show you guys how to incorporate that with all your athletes. And we'll talk more about how to create a regulated community in your gym and how to create programming in your gym that also helps regulate everyone. Thank you guys so much for joining, and I'll see you guys next week. Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
You're welcome.